All right. Well, it is just a few minutes past 9 o'clock. Thank you for joining Highwire University. This is our third course of the season. And today we are focusing on Highwire project methodology. My name is Susanna Song, and joining me is my colleague, Director of Project Management Organization, Wendy Hamm. Hi, Wendy.
Hi there.
Thanks.
Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Wendy. And I know that you're busy, but we appreciate your time and we're excited to hear what you have to share today. To tell you a little bit more about Wendy, she is a mom of two boys. They live in Central Illinois. She has worked and served at Highwire Networks for almost 4 years. And for the past 4 years, she's served in many different roles from project manager to director. She has a total of 17 years of experience in operational roles in the industry. And I forgot to introduce myself. I think it's early, it's the day after a long holiday weekend, but in case I didn't introduce myself, I'm Susanna Song. I handle marketing and communications for Highwire, and I recognize a lot of your names for those of you who are joining us this morning. So thank you for being so dedicated. When I was scheduling Highwire University, I completely forgot that yesterday was Labor Day. So I apologize that it's the morning after, and I know everyone gets inundated with a lot of emails the day after a holiday. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of this. We'll try to keep it to 30 minutes to about 45 minutes. So, we can give you a little of your morning back. So without further ado, Wendy, if you want to take it over and share kind of your thoughts behind project methodology.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susanna. So thank you for the introduction. Although I'm excited to be doing this, I will by far admit that I am not a teacher by nature. My kids will attest to that, given starting last spring, going into the e-learning. I'm not a principal and I'm not a teacher, but I am excited to share this information with you. Today we're going to go over the Highwire Network core values, a quick synopsis of our process from the sales to delivery, best practices of project management. We depend on you and the reasons of that and how you can add value and promote yourselves. And then through a simple acronym that I like to go by called ART, and then we will move to any questions that you may have. So actually, before we go there, I just want to open up. Unfortunately, I don't have the visibility to see all who is on this call. I imagine that I have worked with you and the names would be familiar to me as well. We're all working, or we have worked with the majority of you through our platform. We've had relationships with you through there. We've built our relationships on there as well. I think that there may be some of you that have gotten the notifications or the invitations through social media that Susanna had put out. So we want to welcome you as well and look forward to building further relationships with anybody also that is new on here. So we'll move through. So the Highwire Network core values, a few years ago, we introduced into our company something we called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating Systems. And we were tasked with really looking at our company, what we represent as individuals and as a unity. So we came together as a leadership team with core values that we want to display to our customers, to our end users, and also with our support, which is you, down to our technicians of what we want to display. with that being said, in working with us on projects, you are our customer face, and we want the same core values to shine through with you while you're on site and you're dealing with our customers direct. So the number one that we came up with was trust. So in really realizing we don't sell service, we sell trust. I know that our CEO founder, Mark Porter, in one of his universities has gone through our core values in detail. Some of you may have been on there, so I'll keep this brief, but really touching the key points that are important. So again, not selling service, we sell trust. Our customers trust us with their clients. We must never take advantage of the information that they give us and that we're passing down to you. It takes years to earn trust, but only seconds to lose it. And I'm sure we've all experienced that on both sides. And we must be able to give people trust in order to earn theirs. If we cannot trust others, they won't trust us. So with that said, and touching, our customers are trusting us with their clients. As Highwire Networks, we rarely work with the end user direct. We're channel partners. So our customer is our customer, but their customer is the end user. They're the sites that you're actually going to and providing the service to. The next, we have innovation, right? So be innovative. Always look for ways to improve the tools, the process, the customer experience. Enter every situation with the knowledge that anything is possible until we prove that it isn't. And always, you need to be willing to fail, but never fail willingly. So we're always looking for the solution and not just presenting the problem. In being innovative, right, which I always tell my staff is, coming up with ideas or better ways or time efficient ways, cost efficient ways, and bringing those to the table. Not everything that you're bringing to the table is going to fit in to the full picture, but there may be aspects of that, right, that we pull and say, wow, that's a really good idea, aspects that we can bring back to our customer. Again, being that value add with your skill set and your knowledge and expertise that you have. The next we have is results, right? We are results driven. Know your goals and achieve them. Don't make excuses. We never look at excuses. Adjustments is a better term and better direction to go. And ask questions. If you're not sure what you're aiming for, you're not sure of the ultimate goal, you're not going to be able to provide the results. So if there's any uncertainty, make sure that you're seeking clarification to know the direction and the ultimate goal that you're aiming for. The next was a company comes first. When we were looking at this, it was internal of saying the company comes first, but really this filters, right? There's a flow down to you guys of you must be all in. You may not be full-time employees of us, but we do value your services. We value and look at you as employees of Highwire. So you must be all in. You must believe in our ultimate goal, in what we stand for. Without a healthy organization, there's nothing left for you as an individual. So if there's things within our operating systems and working with our project management, if there's something that you see that isn't better or that isn't healthy and that could have improvement, we need you to speak up to that. The sum of our parts is greater than any of us. So again, coming together as a whole and having that unity is critical in putting the company first. The next, which I'm sure we all can attest to, is the customer is not always right, but still the customer. There's the balance, the needs of the customer with the needs of the company is critical. And again, the customer, although some may not express that, they're not always looking to be right. They're doing the best that they can to their ability and coming up with a plan, coming up with a run book. going through, maybe they haven't done surveys of all their sites. They're still looking at us for our expertise. So we need to treat them, with respect. We must always handle the situation respectfully. We're not looking to win the battle and lose the war. So again, just understanding that there's ways to present to the customer better ways. Then we have, bear with me here. Okay, sorry, Susanna, I didn't know if that chat was coming to me. And then reliable. Again, you're the face, you're going on site, you're dealing with the director, with the customer directly. So say what you'll do, then do what you say. Your teammates, Highwire, the customer, we're counting on you to meet your commitments. Never fail alone. That's a really big one with us here internally, right? If you need help and you feel that you are failing or that success is compromised or we're at risk, ask for help when you need it. Don't overcommit. If you find you have, reset the deadline as soon as you know you'll miss it and communicate as clearly as possible. So these are just, what Highwire looks at as our core values. I take a lot of these personal as well and into my family and instilling into my kids. I think they're just all around good foundations to go by. And we're going to go over a quick synopsis of projects from the sales to the delivery. The customer issues the RFP, the request for proposal, into either our sales, directly to our account executives if they have relationships already in place, existing customers. We take that from, it goes from our account executives to our solutions architects. They come together to develop a scope and the proposal. We submit that, we do the onboarding of the project or the customer, and then it is assigned to a project manager. The project manager from there schedules, we do internal kickoffs for knowledge transfer of any of the dialogue that we had with the customer previously, and we're looking at determining the number of resources required and the skill sets required. From there, we then move on to an external kickoff with all the stakeholders to review the project plan, the scope, timeline, and execution. And if multiple sites, which many of the projects that we do get are large rollouts. So it's multiple sites nationwide, could be global as well. We are on the international services as well. But if multiple sites, our PMs are taking those lists of sites and we're putting them into a map. We're mapping out all locations. We're looking to say, hey, can we route these? Or do we have clusters? Are they remote? And then with our technicians and our support, we then overlay that map and say, hey, here's the technicians that we have that are close to these sites. We can then route you and say, instead of saying, hey, can you just go to this site, we're looking, saying, we have 10 of these that I think that you can do, and we can give you 2 weeks straight of going to site. Our customers love it. It's continuity. The more you're going to these sites, you're getting familiarity with them. And with that, cost efficiency happens and time efficiency as well, because you're familiar now with this. The project manager refines the deployment plan, and then we go and create our assignments or open tickets on the platform for you to either apply to. Again, we're looking for consistency, and our first contacts will be our select choice techs. Susanna, do you want to step in on that just for a little bit more clarification?
Yeah, so Wendy's obviously talking about Work Market, the platform that many of you guys are familiar with. So up until this point, our project managers have had kind of their first choice based on what Wendy's spoken about, like the consistency, following core values. And then as we now are introducing Highwire University, and our promise to you is for those of you who have taken the last 2 courses, are now taking this course, and will continue to take courses throughout through the end of the year, 6 courses in all, and you take the exam to prove that that you watched the entirety of the course, or that you actually attended. You will be put on a kind of like a preferential list or a preferred list that we'll hand over to our project management group, and also our help desk group. They're the ones who assign work market technicians. So it's kind of an added bonus, as you read, for those of you who are now dedicated to the mission of Highwire Networks. And, it's kind of like our thank you and our, promise to you that, we'll look at you first before we take a look at, the long list of technicians and contractors out there.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Great. Thanks, Susanna. So from there, again, we would be assigning technicians and reviewing the scopes, deliverables, and expectations with you. Then from there, the project managers will manage the deployments in coordination with you to ensure the scope and tasks are executed on time and within budget. And then upon completion, we go through a project closeout. So, if it's a single site, remote sites, that may be, you're on site for a couple days, we go through, we're verifying deliverables. If it's a rollout, we'll be doing that as we're rolling out for each site, verifying all the deliverables, moving through the invoicing, closing out your assignments, and then what we do that we want you to be a part of when we are closing something out is going through a lessons learned phase project analysis. What could we have done better? Was there something that should have been in the scope that wasn't, that should be called out? Whatever it may be, there's always a lesson to learn and to carry on to the next project. And then we compare them, right? When we get new RFPs coming in, we're saying, oh, this project really resembles this that we've done in the past, and we can go back and look and say, okay, like in the quoting process or in the deployment process, these are things that needed to be adjusted. So from project management best practices, what are we looking at? From our standpoint, and that I can speak that I believe for all of our project managers, we're really deriving from leadership in Highwire is safety. That's first and foremost. That is looking from the physical aspect, right? Not all times are we able to go on site and do a survey, so we're asking as many questions as possible. But sometimes you might be going to site and they're like, no, you don't need a lift, a ladder is fine, and you get to site and you're like, this is a 20-foot ceiling. I don't, like, even if you have extension ladders, whatever, if you feel unsafe or saying like, this is not a ladder, we need a lift, right? You're looking and saying, a lot of the environments that we're going into are occupied and have staff that are working and stating like, I'm not comfortable, I can't go in this, we have staff working here. This, X, Y, and Z poses this danger. We need to know. If there's something from the forefront that we're saying, and I'll give you an example, we're walking into a new project that is a rollout, and they were transitioning from another vendor that was not successful doing this, and they are stating, right, it only requires one technician to be on site. Well, that's okay, but there is a ladder involved, and it's after hours. So from our standpoint, then we're requiring with our techs, with you guys that are going to be on site, that you're doing a check-in, right? Whatever accident that may happen, if we don't hear from you, within 45 minutes, or you're not joining the bridge, we're going to do a check on you. But we're, ahead of time looking at that, saying, hey, when you're going to site, we're going to be checking on you if we don't hear from you, to make sure that everything is good. Also, outside of just the physical safety aspects, you're all living it too. We're in this pandemic, we're in COVID, and we're going into environments. So now it's the health safety precautions that we have to take and keep in mind. So when you're going, I'm pretty sure standard now with everybody, a mask, you're wearing a mask. Gloves were required. It's hard to work in gloves when you're trying to do cable management, when you're working with tools. I understand that that's not always possible, but wherever you feel the most comfortable, that you feel safe, I encourage you to use those practices. We do inquire in any new projects and sites that we're going into that, what are the PPE requirements? What are the precautions? But if at any time you don't feel safe, or you're walking on site and you want to ask the questions, right? Hey, is this questions that you're going to the doctor? Has anybody been, tested positive in X amount of time? How many people are here? You're entitled to ask those questions. And if there's any point that you don't feel safe, let us know. We will back you up in that. And I will tell you, in the few instances that has occurred, our customers back us up in it as well. So, never feel like this is something like I'm just going to go because I know that this work needs to get done. Your health and your safety comes first. Then, the quality of work, that is, we're looking at that at the proposal process also. Is this something that we know we can go in and give quality work and not take the shortcuts? If a customer is coming in and asking us to do shortcuts, we don't take that lightly. We look and say, really, what's the end result? How could this reflect on us poorly, and does it put us at risk for anything? So definitely quality in what we're able to do from the pre-stand, and then quality of the work that we are doing. Going through the scope of work again, the schedule, duration, the cost, our budget, and the skill sets required. So moving on to, we depend on you for a number of things, right? A lot of what we talked about, and I'll probably get a little bit more elaborate in some of these. We're depending on you to review the scope, the run book, all documentation, deliverables, and the tasks that you are to accomplish with the project manager to address any concerns or questions that you may have. That's your time, right? And that's us also looking at you for your expertise. You're going to be working with project managers sometimes that don't have the technical skills that you do. We've gone through the scope, we've gone through the run books, and hey, it looks all good to us, and we have it scheduled. We have, what resources are going to be where and what times, but you may call out something that we did not think of that we can bring back to the customer. So the review is critical prior to going to site, that you can address anything that you need to. When going to site, have a printed copy of the scope and the run books of all the documentation. A lot of these sites have step-by-step run books to follow. They have the bridge numbers to call in. They have your remote support numbers to call in. They have the links of where your deliverables need to go. Have those with you, that you're not having to look. I mean, how many times have you gone to site and you had no signal? There was no Wi-Fi. Everything was shut down, and you're not able to then access any of that information. So having that printed document with you is critical. Check in, check out. If you're on the platform, you have that check in, check out. But there is times that the customer and their engineer is looking for that. When you get to site, hey, I'm here. If you're not doing check-in, check-out, then the project managers are going to be stalking you, saying, where are you? Are you on site? And then they're not able to get a hold of you, and you say, well, I checked out 2 hours ago. It's simple for them to go in and look that you've done your checkout process if you're doing it correctly. Take before and after pictures. Even if it's not in the scope for deliverables, I can tell you, and I'm sure you guys have felt this pain, that the customer comes back 2 weeks later, a month later, with pictures of saying, this is a disaster. Well, who's been in the closet since you left, right? Who has actually gone and touched this? We're taking the blame for it, right? They're coming to us, we're coming back to you. If you say, hey, this is what it looked like, this is when I left, and this is the date and time that I left, and this is what it looked like, and I haven't been back since, we have recourse to go back to. Completing the project in time and on budget, and advising if the project will require more time. JCOs, you guys, are critical in knowing, and that's where knowing your scope and what the work is. You're always going to have a customer or an employee at site coming, hey, can you do this? Hey, I want this. Those are things that are going to add time to the project. And if we don't know and we're not aware that you're being requested something in addition, even if you're not sure, let us know. Stop, because I can't bill that without an approval from the customer, without having that JCO in place. It now puts us at risk. We can't bill it and we can't pay you, right? We're paying you, we're looking at you to do a scope, to do a job of what was given. Anything in addition, again, if it is, the magic 8 ball, it's hazy, outlook not so good, whatever it is, stop and get a hold of your project manager and let them work that out. They may direct you, just be, you're on hold for a minute. Hey, we're going to stop, go on site, whatever that is. The JCOs are critical. So that leads into always keeping the PM informed, seeking approval from the project manager for any work or requests outside of the scope. And then making sure, right, we're depending on you to upload all your deliverables and reviewed with the project manager. So this, I don't think I can emphasize enough. This is a true value add. This is something that I would be going back and looking and saying, hey, John stopped before he left site, went through, we reviewed all of the deliverables. We know he's good to go. You have customer sign off, you have approval sign off from your PM that everything is complete. Where the value add comes into this, if you are doing all of your deliverables prior to leaving site, I know, and sometimes there's the exception, right? Again, going to not having signal, not having Wi-Fi. But if you can, this is going to save, when you get back and you're looking at your pictures and you're going through the checklist and saying, wow, this picture didn't turn out right. This is blurry. There's nothing that this customer is going to be able to see from this. You're still responsible for the deliverables that were at hand. So that's going to save you from having to go back to site just to do pictures when you probably could be on another site, right, that now is billable from your perspective. It also allows us, as you're doing the deliverables, instead of by the time you get home and you're on, the comfort of your family room on your couch doing these deliverables, we then could be, during that time, sharing the deliverables with the customer, reviewing them, and then moving on to the next sites to do that. So ensuring your deliverables are done well on site and submitted is a huge value add that helps promote yourself. It's a great attribute. And then again, ensuring customer sign off prior to leaving site. Let's see what else I have. So keeping in mind, while you're on site, right, we have hundreds of sites being deployed with hundreds of technicians like you. Keep yourself marketable, promoting yourself to be working on those hundreds of sites that we're deploying. You know, this is something I say to my kids consistently. You stand out when all is smooth sailing. You stand out, you're recognized on good performance, good behavior, in anything that you do, but you stand out even more when things go wrong, when things are bad. And that's not the light that we want to be in. That's not a light we want to see you in. And then in being in this industry, and as long as you guys have, hey, shit happens, right? We get it. And it's okay. But the sooner we know, the faster we can assist to resolve. The worst pain point that a project manager can have is that we are notified of something that went wrong or went awry from the customer. If they're calling us, I should be hanging up the phone with you, right? And saying, yes, I just was notified this, we're on this. Or before the customer even knows, that you notified the project manager, and then we're going to the customer and saying, hey, this just happened, we're working through this. So again, like, don't ever, it goes back, you know, to not failing alone, keeping that open communication. But if there is anything that does happen, the first phone call, outside if there's any safety issues that you're calling 911, needs to be calling your project manager.
And Wendy, we did get one attendee ask, is JCO Job Change Order? And
yes, it is. Yes, it is. So again, anything that falls outside of scope or any requests, it's a fine line too, because we want customer satisfaction, and this customer on site is saying, hey, can you just do this real quick? This would be really helpful. Well, that feeds into other things. So it's being able to say, I would love to do that for you, but let me get with my project manager and make sure that this falls in line. And keeping in mind, you're dealing with the end customer. So we can't even from Highwire's perspective go to the end customer to approve that. We have to go to our customer, right? And say, hey, you need to get with your customer and get this approved. And the people on site are not the ones that are signing off, right? So that we need to understand that too. They're there for technical support. They're there just to escort you to a closet, to get, you know, to get you to where you need, but they're not the decision makers in most circumstances either. So yes, I apologize. Thank you for calling that out for the JCOs, because they are critical. Next, in promoting yourself, we are service providers. The brand reputation and our success does go beyond the technical performance of our installations. Although that's critical, there's still an image that we convey. So, you know, cleanliness of our work before, during, and after, coming in, setting your things up in an organized fashion. During that, we're not just throwing garbage and plastic and boxes everywhere, that we're keeping those in a spot. And then after, right, like we're going through, we're opening things, you know, that could have the styrofoam, your cardboard. If there is not a dumping ground or garbage dumpsters that we can use, we need to take that with us. We cannot leave a mess there. If we're after hours, there's employees that are walking into these sites to work after. They do not want to walk into a disaster. During, again, is the same, but that's also inclusive to, a lot of times we're doing cable management. In doing that, like, make sure that there isn't a nest. I have seen some pretty crazy pictures that I'm like, I can't believe anybody would think that this is okay to leave like this. And then I have seen pictures that I want to take, that I want to send the pictures to Susanna and say, hey, put these on our website. This is like a piece of art. This is beautiful, the way that these are done. That is always what we need to be aiming for. Proper attire and presentation. You know, I know sometimes you're getting in the attics, you're getting in ceilings, you're going to get dirty. You know that, right? That's the environments that we're going in, but walking into an environment, into an office, we need to look presentable. You know, collared shirts, you know, nice jeans or khaki pants, whatever. Your attire and presentation is very critical. Nothing torn and ripped up. No logos on your shirt. it's things that I would say, being in this industry for as long as I have, that I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but I am. When I have a customer calling me and saying, your technician really needs to leave site, and I say, why, right? Well, his attire is derogatory. What does that mean? Well, he walked in with a shirt that said, lick my balls, into an office.
You would think
right?
that they would know better.
Right. You're like, it says what? Hold on. At that point, it's not even like, hey, can you just go to Walmart and get a solid t-shirt? The image is there and the customer does not want them there anymore. Locking doors behind you when needed. Again, we're going into environments sometimes after hours. There's not always going to be a point of contact on site, and there's going to be rules of, hey, you're here, here's the key. When you're done, please lock up. Here's a drop box. We don't want to leave our customer sites at exposure for anything, exposure to risk. No personal cell phone use on site. If you need to step out to your vehicle for a minute, I can't tell you, in knowing, right, there's, again, having Wi-Fi or not having signal, or you're waiting for other vendors or contractors or even the engineers to complete something prior going to a cutover. You've done all of your part and now you're in limbo for a little bit. I know that, and once I'm talking to you, I know that, but I can't tell you the calls that I get from customers stating, we're not paying for your tech's time. What are they doing? They're just sitting in the lobbies. They're sitting on the couch. They're on their phone. They're, scrolling through their phone, looking at social media. It's perception. They don't know. So we need to eliminate any poor perception of what they think. So unless it's business related, even if it is, that the image of what you're portraying on site is clear. Being prepared, think ahead. If you're not sure if you're going to need a specific tool, bring it anyway. Always, as far as if we're doing cable management, have labels, have Velcro, have zip ties, whatever you need that even if it's not a requirement, right, that it's great to say, if I did this, this would look so much better. Going that extra mile for the customer is important. The demeanor with the customer, being respectful, polite, helpful, professional. Even if you don't agree, even if they're asking you to do something or they're confrontational, just excuse yourself and say, let me call my project manager and see what I can do to assist, but don't meet aggression with aggression. That's not the image, again, that Highwire wants to portray. That's not what we want for you guys to portray, and we want to keep our working relationship going. And if that isn't the demeanor that is coming from, the chances are you're not going to be on our preferred list. Clear and constant communication, letting us know where you're at, never hesitating to contact us, and understanding we're on the same team. Again, you're our face. We're relying on you. And then the last of just, again, of talking through the simple acronym that I like to live by, that's easy to remember, right? ART, accuracy, reliability, and timeliness. The accuracy is being factual, clear pictures, clear deliverables, your precise data. If we're recording things, you're looking at exact dates and times that we're able to go back and look at that. Reliability, we covered, we count on you to be successful. We're relying on you. And timeliness, being on time, executing all tasks within the defined scope, plan, and directions is of capital importance. And I think we've covered that in the slides before. So I thank you guys for your time. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to turn this back over to Susanna, and I think we'll open up for some questions as well.
Yeah, so we have a smaller group this morning, so I'm actually going to open everyone's mic. It defaults to mute. So if you have a question for Wendy or for me, just go ahead and unmute and let's have a dialogue. I think Wendy touched on a lot of great points, from our core values to the process that the PMO group takes, where you guys come in as kind of the face of Highwire to our end customers, And then just even how to present yourself. Perception, as she said, is key. You may be just looking for a hotspot or trying to log in to, you know, internet, trying to get Wi-Fi, and you're sitting on the couch, but the customer may be looking at you thinking you're on social media. So little things like that maybe you haven't even thought of. People are always watching, and you guys represent us when you're out in the field, and we don't take that lightly, and we appreciate your hard work, but we just want to make sure we're all on the same page and that we understand each other. So if you have a question, feel free to ask. We'll take probably the next 10-15 minutes to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, this is, my name is Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, good morning, Mike.
Good morning. I mean, everything that Wendy said to me is just pretty standard. You know, it's just a given when you're going to site, as far as workmanship, appearance, and professionalism. So everything she said to me is just something that we practice on a daily basis.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to approach every job and every site, with those aspects in mind.
Right. Yep. And Mike, that's what we love to hear, right? And having the same values as we do is excellent. We all know, right? Sometimes we run into the unknown, and it is of how we handle that and how it's approached. And then yet still being surprised, right? You would think common sense, expectation that this is what everybody knows, but
right.
You're never cease to be surprised in this industry sometimes.
Not at all. I mean, it's just every site, every ticket, or, every job, you kind of know what you're getting into, but then when you get there, for the most part, a lot of the times it's, it changes up a little bit, and you just got to go with the flow,
Yes.
Yep.
Ryan or David, do you have anything? And I'm sorry, I don't know the LM one. There's no name that's appearing there, but.
Well, I did some point of sale work. I've done pretty well everything eventually, but I did some point of sale work, and I ended up in a lot of fast food restaurant environments, and man, it's a whole different world there. You're not allowed to think. Like, you're not allowed to stand still and think. Everybody has to be moving and wiping and cleaning, and if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean. And the owners are watching you on cameras. If you have the audacity to stand in one spot and think, like you're troubleshooting, they call up and want to know, why you're not moving. So it's just interesting, that it can be quite extreme depending on the environment. Other places expect you to, look at your laptop, do some paperwork, have a little space to sit and think about the problem. They'd be surprised if you didn't. So it's really a case of understanding the environment that you're in.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're looking at the differences of retail, right? We're looking at schools, we're looking at government, bank institutions. So they all operate very differently, like looking from the security aspects as well, right? Of what we have to look for. So it is understanding and asking those questions too, right? We try our best from the project management aspect of getting all those questions in the forefront, but sometimes we don't know, and we walk into a site blind and we're like, okay, this is not what we expected. Or it's the fast food, right? Sometimes you're like, well, why don't you just give me a headset and a uniform?
Exactly.
Yeah, different things are acceptable in different places, and I think that's what happens when somebody shows up in one of those T-shirts, is that they're just not experienced in the different cultures and
The environment,
ways of being in different markets.
No.
Right, and that's where you go and say, okay, so at what point, regardless of what environment, for a work or going, right, for any type of work, would that be okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't hurt to just have even just a solid color T-shirt
right.
in the car. You're gonna go climb up, in storage or at an attic space. If you don't want to get your polo dirty. I have a question for the attendees here. If you've done work for Highwire, when you go and introduce yourself to an end customer, do you represent yourself as Highwire or as our partner?
I always say I'm representing Highwire, but I have to be careful not to say I work for them,
Yep.
Yeah, so Susanna, and that is, a lot of that is based off of our customer requirements, right? And based off of the knowledge of using contractors versus not. And there's instances that, and I'm sure that you guys have worked with on this too, is we have a customer, and when we're doing these rollouts, they're required to be in our customer logo polo. And they send 3 to 5 out, depending how long to each technician. You get their sizes and send them out. And some say you are to represent yourself as, right? You don't have to say from Hire, you can say with Highwire. And a lot of people don't ask, but it is, some of it can be really sensitive. So that's something we find out from our customers, and we certainly relay down to the technicians of what the expectation is there.
Got it.
Yeah, I never really run into that. I mean, where a customer asks who you with, or yeah, they ask you when you're introducing your first, getting onto site, they want to know what you're doing there, obviously. But for the most part, if I'm with this company, I say I'm with this company. We're here to do this scope of work, and that's it.
Right.
Never really get into any back and forth with who are you, why are you. Why are
They're
you
expecting you
here?
already, so
Yeah.
they know
Right.
you're coming. Yeah.
So a lot of that is done on the forefront of the expectation. That will be done usually between the project manager and when we're sitting on the customer and end user calls.
Right.
So yeah, and then some require badging.
They're already expecting us.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So mainly we're giving them your name, right, for security,
right,
knowing who's coming. So that's it. Do you guys have any questions for us or any suggestions, right? What can we do to help you? What would make your jobs easier? What are your pain points, right? From being in the field to working with the project managers?
Mine is
it all depends.
that I need to schedule myself for efficiency, and the companies that use me need me to schedule with a great empty period of time after every event in case something goes wrong or in case the scope of work wasn't estimated right. And there's always that conflict when you're trying to make a living and you're trying to schedule the work. But you're going to get yourself in trouble if you don't allow a great period of idleness after every event. So I really depend on you to accurately estimate how long things are going to take me whenever you can.
Right. So I think we always try to recognize and put in a buffer, right, of going in and saying, okay, we think this, but you don't always know what you're walking into. But again, so I think that's where our relationship building comes in, right? To say, hey, this is what we think this is going to take. This is what is estimated. This is what was quoted. But if you're going and saying there's no way, then I need to understand why, to be able to go back and explain that to my customer. Hey, this is not what we thought. This is going to take additional hours. And they may come back and say, no, we've done this 50 times. So either your tech is too slow or doesn't have the skill set that we need, which, trust me, that's usually the first response. So we have to go be able to say, okay, and sometimes it's a video. all right, we're videoing doing this process or this AP, or this is the step from unboxing the phones or the monitors or whatever it may be to getting to the working station, connecting, turning them on, doing the testing, doing the outgoing calls, you know, whatever it is. I'm sure you guys know all these procedures, and saying this time frame is not doable.
Well, every company that I work for has different processes, different expectations, different forms, different collateral they want, you know, deliverables.
Sure.
So if I can do 5 of something, then I can maybe do them in an hour of each. But if I'm only going to get to do 1, and it's a whole new process, I'm going to be slow. Everybody will be slow because it takes, you know, a couple times through a rollout to kind of get the flow.
Right.
So that you're not having to read every line on every checklist as you go. So,
Well, and that's our point too, right? Of why we really want people like you that are interested in taking these university courses specific to Highwire, that we start understanding how each other works and having that continuity. So we want to, again, instead of saying, hey, like this person's in Alabama and, but we're just going to open this up. If they're in Alabama and we have multiple sites, I want you to do the beginning might not be as quick, but as you get to the 2nd, the 3rd, the 5th, you're going to have that. I mean, obviously every environment is a little bit different, but it's gaining that speed and efficiency.
yeah, I mean, I was on your end of the phone for a rollout at convenience stores, and there were techs that were taking 12 hours to get themselves off site at the start, and they got it down to 2 hours when they were done. It was just a matter of getting it so that you could just get there and work, and you knew exactly what you were doing.
Well, and sometimes it's the customer too, right? So there's a new process, there's a new step, there's a new environment, but it's the same for the customer. And maybe there's other contractors, right, that we're working around, and then we're like, well, we got to wait for the painter, or we have to wait for the electrician. Those are things, again, those are lessons learned in the beginning, saying, hold on, we didn't anticipate this. We're experiencing these delays, and it's something that they then have to go and look at too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, okay, so Susanna, I think we're coming up on the hour. Is there anything else to cover?
You're muted, Suzanne.
Susanna, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. If we don't have any other questions right now, just a reminder that you can ask me any questions that come up. Tomorrow when I send you an email, just hit reply. If it's for Wendy, I can forward that email to her. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. Also, a reminder to take the certification exam if you want CPE credit, and if you want to be part of the preferred list that I mentioned. It's going to be important whether you do it now or at the very end. In December, I'm going to expect you to take all 6 exams. They're 3 questions. They're very simple questions. Just it's more of a verification. It's more verification for me to know that you participated and that you watched the entire course. So log into our partner portal. If you don't have access to our portal, shoot me an email tomorrow. Let me know that you need to get in. And don't forget to register for next month's course. It's Emerging Technical Field Services, taught by Nick Garafalis. He is our VP of Solutions Architect. And he's been with Highwire for as long as our CEO, Mark Porter, been around for 20 plus years, understands technology and technical service installations and integrations, all of that. So do that now so you don't forget, and we hope you have a great rest of the week. You stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you back here next month. Thanks, Wendy. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. It's good to get to see you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.